Hello friends, in this video we'll talk about Poland's crime report, from political reprisals to restaurant wars. We're breaking down high-profile incidents, the bold elimination of a Russian artist in Poland, the nighttime arson of a Ukrainian restaurant in Warsaw, and as a side note, the absurd rampage at a Polish restaurateur's establishment during the strikes in Brussels. We'll discuss everything now. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel. Friends, thank you so much to everyone who doesn't mind. Simple actions take just 2 seconds. Thank you for your support. Let's get to business. No ads, that's key. If you thought that criminal showdowns with a political undertone were a thing of Gog's distant past, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The news feeds are exploding with a fresh and extremely nasty story. From Poland, where right now, in June of 2026, Polish special services and police are already investigating the murder of Russian artist, blogger, and harsh critic of the Kremlin regime, Semyon Skripetsky. Let's look at the dry facts, the details of the daring attack, and the international context of this case, which has already caused, I would say, the greatest resonance without emotions or conspiracy theories. The tragedy occurred in Biała Podlaska, a Polish city just 40 kilometers from the Belarusian border. Skripetsky, he is 44 years old, had the status of a political refugee, and this place seemed like a relatively safe haven. But reality turned out to be different. The timeline of events looks roughly like this. An hour before his death, the artist managed to post a disturbing message on his social media. He wrote directly that he was receiving open threats of violence from radical supporters of the current Russian authorities. And just an hour later, in the parking lot of one of the city's residential complexes, an unknown person approached Skripetsky and, in fact, acted according to the timeline. He fired several shots at close range, aiming at vital organs. Unfortunately, the victim had almost no chance of survival. Immediately after the shooting, the perpetrator tried to escape. According to local journalists, a taxi driver was involved in this scheme. Interestingly, he was a citizen of Belarus, and according to one version, the attacker threatened him with a weapon. The taxi driver headed for the Belarusian consulate in the city, hoping to find shelter there. Well, I have to say, the Polish law enforcement officers deserve a thumbs up once again, because they did a great job and acted quickly. The streets of Biała Podlaska were immediately blocked off as part of an interception plan, and the killer, alleged of course, since there hasn't been a trial yet, was detained in the immediate vicinity of the diplomatic mission. So friends, write in the comments what you think. Was this a random conflict, or was it a well-planned operation to eliminate this blogger who criticized the Kremlin? For those who are not familiar with his work, well, Skripetsky was quite a unique and prominent figure in the field of political art. His style is sharp, biting satire, grotesque, and caricatures that push the limits. He didn't hold back in his visual expression when creating his paintings. He bluntly mocked Russia's top leadership, including Alexander Lukashenko, even though Lukashenko isn't Russian leadership, and criticized internal systemic issues. And of course, this kind of work generated not only hundreds of thousands of views, but also a huge army of personal enemies. Who do you think you are? Moving to Poland was a forced step for him, an attempt to escape criminal prosecution at home, but as we've seen before, his opponents still managed to get to him even outside the CIS. Friends, let me make a small historical remark. When talking about the murders of artists in Poland, the local community, well, I'm also Polish, yes, I have a passport. Inevitably, it brings to mind another, much less old, no, actually much older case. But nevertheless, a terrible tragedy that shook sunny Poland exactly 20 years ago. We're talking about the death of Beksiński. Yes, Banksy, I wanted to make a joke, but all right, that joke needs some work. In short, he was a legendary Polish surrealist, a master of dark and apocalyptic paintings. In February 2005, when he was already 75 years old, Beksiński was found dead. In his Warsaw apartment on Sanata Street, he was stabbed 17 times. What is most terrifying is that the killer turned out to be 19-year-old Robert Kupiec, the son of close family friends who helped the artist around the house, whom Beksiński knew well and trusted. The motive for that crime, unlike the Skripetsky case, was pathetically trivial. The teenager urgently needed money, about 10,000 zlotys at that time, to pay off a debt to local gangsters. When the great painter refused to lend him money, he tried to call the boy's father. Well, I almost said something rude about the kid, but I won't. Maybe the parents are watching this video. The boy flew into a rage and grabbed a knife. The loot of the juvenile criminals, and Robert was also helped by his underage cousin, ended up being 2 cheap cameras and 100 music CDs. The killer got 25 years in prison, but the artist's life can never be returned. Back then, Beksiński's colleagues joked with courage that his end turned out to be eerily similar to the plots of his own dark paintings. Well, that's how it is, friends. A story. And if the murder of Beksiński in 2005 was a tragedy, a domestic drama, yes, a banal robbery, then the shooting of Semyon Skripetsky in 1926 was a pure political hit and a demonstrative act of intimidation. How can you allow yourselves this? As you can see, EU borders don't guarantee personal safety for all opposition figures. The Polish prosecutor's office and counterintelligence face major tasks. They must identify who directed and influenced the killer. Next, friends, we have, wow, a magpie. It's chattering away. Let's move to Warsaw. Unknown individuals broke into the Ukrainian restaurant Mur, this is not an advertisement, and set it on fire. The owners of the establishment claimed that the perpetrator's goal was to completely destroy the restaurant. All of this happened overnight into Sunday, June 14th. And the owner of the restaurant said that the attackers did not come to rob, like someone came with fire not to rob, not to steal, but to burn everything to the ground. Along with the jobs of dozens of people and a place where families with children come every day. Well, that's the statement that this restaurant Mur released. As a result of the incident, no one was hurt. And in the videos and photos on social media, you can see traces of the fire inside the building. Furniture, broken glass at the entrance. I should mention the incident was caught on surveillance cameras and the footage has been given to the police. And at the same time, let's be honest, the consequences aren't as serious as the perpetrators might have expected. So, most likely it will be open again soon. And how should I put it? I guess they're hinting at something, right? The restaurant representatives are hinting that the reason is competition. When you can't win during the day, you come at night. That's what the business owners said. Friends, share your thoughts in the comments. The owners stressed the restaurant took years of work by many people. They say, that's it, now we'll rebuild. We have hard work, character, and love for our work. The plan remains. Restore order and reopen for guests. That's it. Of course, this has already appeared in the Polish segment on Facebook. And in the comments under such news, the experts immediately pulled out their brilliant and most non-obvious version, right? Damn, they set themselves on fire. Are you serious? They've been bombing themselves there for 12 years, gave everything up, and even set themselves on fire. That's Ukrainians for you, for insurance, for hype, or maybe they were just bored. Well, I'm not even suggesting you think deeply about this analytical train of thought, because come on, seriously. So, if you spent a years really, pouring your heart and a lot of money into a place, you hired a team, you built up a reputation, so that one fine day you can say, hey, let's put on a spectacular show and set our own fridge on fire. That'll be fun. People will come running to us. I really don't believe in things like that, because anyone who's ever run their own business, whether it's a restaurant, a blog, or something else, well, you just wouldn't do that to your own creation. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. And it would be one thing if the plan was to make millions. That happens, right? But this whole scheme just ended with beating a couple of couches and opening a restaurant the very next day. Setting a fire right under your own security cameras, just to hand over the footage to the police and ruin a workday. Honestly, that's some pretty poor planning. So I think we should leave those theories to the conspiracy theorists. To those who love fairy tales on the internet, because reality, as usual, is more mundane. Stupidity and envy often go hand in hand. Well, the cameras caught everything. Alright, moving on. What's next for dessert? Just something quick. The incident happened in the center of Brussels during mass protests, school children, students, and teachers against the cuts to funding for French language education in Belgium. The demonstrations sometimes got out of control, which often happens. We smoothly move on to the story of another Polish restaurateur, Michał Mitkowski. It's also unlikely, of course, that he decided to bomb his own restaurant just for the sake of getting some publicity. Ah, well, but we're not advertising him. The owner of the restaurant is Lil Bao. He was getting ready for the opening together with his employees when he noticed that 2 men were taking a chair from the summer terrace. So he just ran outside to get his property back. So it turned out to be a very unpleasant situation, my friends, because to put it mildly, it didn't go well at all. That's it. According to the restaurateur, the men who took the chair from the terrace were from North Africa. After he tried to get his property back, people started shouting, "You're a racist, our dear Pole." An aggressive crowd formed. And Mikhail has been living in Belgium since he was 3 years old. Of course, someone has to write in the comments, "Poland for Poles. What are you doing? Why did you go to Belgium?" And his wife is originally from Taiwan. He works with an international team of employees, and he says he's faced prejudice against Poles more than once, but he never responded with aggression. So, during the attack, one of the people in the crowd threw a chair through the restaurant window. Well, that's how it was. Despite what he went through, the restaurateur is not planning to give up. He won't close his business. For now, he has given up on the outdoor patio by the restaurant. That's the news, friends. So some will write, "What goes around comes around," and others. But I will say that criminals still have no nationality. They're just completely unhinged. So friends, that's basically it. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. That's all for now. See you next time.